Hey guys, Bergs here from the Casual Athlete, and Zero Tackle has asked me to do some tips for round 16, so let's get into it. First game is at Suncorp, where the Dolphins will be taking on the Storm. Now, the Storm have a fantastic record at Suncorp, as we all know, and this week they get Pappenhausen and Warbrick back into the side. Suafeolongo makes his move onto the wing, but they will be without Harry Grant this week. For the Dolphins, well, the big missing for them is the hammer, and Trey Fuller has been very admirable coming into that role. I expect him to have a big game at fullback for the Dolphins this week. And I got to tell you, I personally, and I think everyone else, have underestimated the Dolphins this year. They're currently sitting in fourth position, got a great win against the Sharks last week. And for the Storm, they have been just getting over the line in a lot of games this year. They're finding a way to win and showing that championship quality that we all know and love about the Melbourne Storm. I'm actually going to be tipping the Dolphins this week. That's right. I've got the underdog here, 1 to 12. I think the Dolphins get a win against Melbourne. Pappenhausen a little bit underdone at the moment, going to be missing their star hooker, and I think Trey Fuller is an admirable replacement for the hammer. Let's hope the Dolphins can get a win here and continue this run of form and stop being underestimated by everyone in the league. With the short week in effect, we're already on to Saturday's games now, and the Titans take on the Warriors in our first one up at Cbus Super Stadium. For the Titans, they get David Fafita back after he spent a week on the sidelines last week, and for the Warriors, RTS is back into the team, and that is a welcome in for them. I don't know about the move with Dylan Walker going to the second row. He hasn't played a lot there in his career. He is a pretty decent defender, but we'll see how it all shapes up. Hopefully, he's not marking David Fafita. That will be a nightmare for them. I'm going to back the Warriors this week to bounce back. I don't know if last week's representation against the Storm really fit the mold of their form the 4 weeks prior to that. And the Titans, well, they completely dropped the ball against the Tigers, didn't throw much at them. Keanu Kinney is having a stellar run of form at the moment, and you can't take him out of that fullback position. Maybe we'll have another look at it when AJ comes back into the side. But I do think the Warriors get a win here. I expect it to be a big one, though, 13 plus. I just don't know if the Titans are really up to it right now. I think they would have won last week had David Fafita been in the team. He's back in this week, but I don't know if it'll make much difference. Warriors, 13 plus. Next up, it's the Roosters taking on the Dogs on the Central Coast. Now, over the last 10 games between these two teams, the Roosters have dominated the fixture, winning 8 out of those last 10 games, and their record is impeccable at Industry, former Blue Tongue Stadium. They haven't lost there since 2020, but I do also think they're getting the Dogs at a good time here. The Dogs probably been the form team over the last month or so. They are extensively good on defense, but they are missing their club captain, Stephen Crichton, this week, and they didn't get the ins that we were expecting from the team lists. Viliami Kikau is still out of the side, as well as Josh Addo-Carr. For the Roosters, they had a couple of guys selected for Origin in Angus Crichton and Connor Watson, a surprising selection for the Blues as well. But Nafahu White has been phenomenal in that lock position, and Tedesco is still going to be there for them. So that is massive for the Roosters. I think the Roosters get it done here. I just think this dog side that they've rolled out this week, as far as team lists are concerned, is a little bit inexperienced and a little bit not up for the fight as much as the Roosters are going to be. So I think the Roosters get it done 13 plus and hopefully keep their Central Coast record intact. The Saturday 7:30 fixture is the Rabbitohs taking on the Manly Sea Eagles. Now, these clubs are tied all time as far as wins are concerned. They're at 83 apiece at the moment, so hopefully one team, barring a draw, will get the edge over the other. I do think Manly took a lot of hits last week in terms of the injuries department. They finished the game with only 13 men available. Corey Waddell going down with an injury. Then we also had Tafao Sipley not finished the game, re-injuring his MCL. We had Garrick not finished the game as well, and Paseka also hurt his thumb, compounding that with the injuries they already have to Tom Trebojevic and the like. It's not a great outlook for the Sea Eagles. They can breathe a sigh of relief knowing that Latrell got picked for Origin, so they won't have to front up against him this week, but I do think that Whiten and Walker, and especially Cook, have been working well together over the last few weeks. It's an interesting combination in the halves. Both of them run very well. I do think the kicking game is still lacking a little bit, but I do expect the Rabbitohs to get a win here despite not having Cam Murray or Latrell in the side. I just think they've been playing some really good football, and the injury toll on the Sea Eagles isn't looking great right now. I've got to go the Rabbitohs 1 to 12. The last game of the round is the Tigers taking on the Raiders out at Campbelltown, and we all know out at Campbelltown that the Tigers have not had much luck of late. They've lost their last 10 games at this particular venue, and to compound that, they've also not beaten the Raiders since 2018. That's 8 games in a row. I think for the Tigers, it's just about backing up that win last week, just showing that it wasn't a one-off performance and that they can back it up week to week. I think for the Raiders, they were extremely flat in the first 30 to 40 minutes of that game against the Cowboys last week. I don't expect them to repeat that performance. I think I've got to go the Raiders here. I just feel like the Tigers, they got their win, and that eases a little bit of pressure on Benji Marshall and the coaching staff, as well as the young core that they do have there. The Tigers also have a number of injuries at this point in time, and they are playing a lot of players that probably wouldn't have seen a first grade field this year had injuries not occurred. And the Raiders, well, they are relatively unchanged this week. And Hudson Young also didn't get selected for Origin, so he will be ready to go in the side and no doubt will want to have a big one to show Madge what he's missed out on. We got to go the Raiders here, 13 plus. So that's it for my tips here on Zero Tackle for round 16. Let me know what you think, and I'll catch you next week.